Eclipse songs, friends. Hello, this is Gemini Brett, Agent 1123 of the Cosmic Intelligence Agency, and we are about to have a journey into the shadow of the eclipse. The triple eclipse of 2018.
Correct, 1123. Hello, everyone. Agent 12 here. Thanks for being with me, Gemini, and introducing us with that wonderful tune just to warm us all up, or warm us up here. Is it boiling hot where you are? We've got the extremes going on still.
Perfectly sunny and pleasant with a little wind. The 6 weeks of Seattle summer are a blessing.
Fantastic. Yeah, sorry, I'm just making sure that everything's working and recording as we go. So today we're, yes, as Gemini has said, I still call you Gemini. I'm sorry, it's just...
That's how I like it.
Yeah, it's how you like it. Good. It's just inbuilt in me, and I don't think I'll ever be able to change that. But anyway, so we're here today to look into the next couple of weeks, which we're calling the triple eclipses, of course, because there's 3 eclipses in a row, 2 weeks, after each other, starting with the solar one this Friday. And just taking you through some of the things like eclipse journeys or eclipse stories. The whole astrological eclipse theme is massive. So we're only going to give you a snippet. There's a lot more to learn about eclipses in many ways. And I think just over the last few years, with so many astrologers getting on board to, let's say, talk about eclipses in so many ways, I'm sure that many of you have learnt so much. So we're going to concentrate on the, let's say, specifics of what makes this triple eclipse season so significant or different from the others. Again, all of them have their own particular story that goes with it, or uniqueness, let's say. And so, of course, these ones have as well. And then Gemini is going to take us through a wonderful kind of meditation to finish us, not to finish us off, but to finish the session. And there might be some other agents that join us through the course today. So we'll see how we go with someone else kind of chiming in. But Gemini, what can you tell us? Like we know eclipse times are hugely significant as particular highlights for, let's say, changing points in our lives or turning points. Somehow, some of us will be feeling it a lot more fully. For others, it won't be as significant, or we might be thinking, well, this is going on, but doesn't feel hugely significant. But, usually when we look back, if we're feeling like that, we go, wow, that was quite a turning point in my life. So what would you say is the significance of having 3 eclipses in a row? We often have 2 eclipses won't happen without having 2 in a row, if I'm correct. We can have up to 4 or 5 in a row, but that's, of course, a lot rarer. And what I looked into the triple eclipse kind of idea is that they happen every couple of years, that we'll have 3 in a row. Is that right?
No, it's much more rare than that. I can actually bring up my notes. It's not like the rarest of the rare thing, and it usually happens in these seasons. So let's lead up to that, because there'll be some folks here who I know are seasoned veterans of the eclipse ways, and some folks who are also relatively new. And so just to quickly kind of get through the serpent symbolism, the dragon symbolism of eclipses, and these ideas that it's a dragon eating the moon or the sun, or Rahu, like the great demon that eats the sun for revenge, but then he's been decapitated, so the sun passes quickly back through his neck and the light is reborn. Clearly, eclipses are about shadow play. And I think if moon and sun, we're very used to this thing, which is the moon, new moon, full moon, the waxing and the waning of the lunation cycle of moon and sun by phase through the degrees of the zodiac. That's longitude. But if this is the path of the sun, the moon is also doing this every month and snaking about the sun's course. So the moon, who's on a different path from Earth's point of view than the sun, usually at new moon is above the sun or below, and so no eclipse for you. It's about twice a year, when the sun is at the crossing points, which are called the lunar nodes, when we can experience either a solar eclipse at a new moon, Earth, moon, sun, or a lunar eclipse at full moon, right? Sun, Earth, moon, and Earth's shadow on the lunar surface, turning it blood red to remind us that we need to be in these vessels with blood running through our veins to experience this great happening. I think very importantly, if we want to engage with what an eclipse is, we have to have a personal cosmology of what is sun, what is moon, what is Earth, because it's those three beings who align in what's known as a syzygy, the alignment of three things, that bring us the energy of the eclipse. In my own personal cosmology, sun represents locally spirit, the one thing. That moon is the reflection of that one thing in a very unique individual way, is what I feel is soul. And the function, the incarnational function of the moon is to do that so we can have an embodied personal experience and heal and feel and know and grow and give back. So these great mysteries, what I find is one of the reasons why the priests of old tell us not to look. For one, we should come with reverence. But for two, great mysteries are revealed that they tried to keep hidden and locked in the books, you know, and these things show up for us. And the time of a triple eclipse, just really quickly, eclipses live in cycles. And there's the light. Saros cycles, which on average live for about 1,280 years, where eclipses of a family come around every 18 years, 11 days, and 8 hours, or 223 lunations, new moon to new moon. So it's like this shadow pulse. We can see this serpent snaking. It's this dragon's heartbeat. And these eclipses are related to one another. And so we'll look maybe at these cycles a little bit. Where did they start? When did they start? But when we have solar eclipse, lunar eclipse, solar eclipse, it's always a total lunar eclipse in the middle, and we'll be speaking about that chart and how that eclipse is aligned to Mars. But the partial before and the partial after, it speaks of the changing of the guard, the passing of the torch of a family that's been around for more than 1,000 years, and the opening of a new family, or the kind of reincarnation of this last family. And they don't change in a moment. The new eclipse that's coming in, it began in 1928. And the old eclipse family that's kind of going out to be replaced by this one will run, I think, until 2054, another couple cycles. So we're in that place of the turning, of the changing of the guards, of the passing of the torch. And there's something about this blood moon in Aquarius aligned to this retrograde Mars, a rare place for Mars to retrograde, that is the centerpiece of this thing. And we're talking about dynamic revolution. And just like with the eclipse, it's a quickening. With the solar eclipse, it turns a total solar eclipse, and this won't be this time, but I watched my first one last year. It turned to night and then day in minutes. It dropped quickly. Yeah, and so we got a whole kind of day's worth of thing in minutes. And with the lunar eclipse, it's, you know, especially a total lunar eclipse, in a way, you get to see every phase of the moon that happens naturally during a month in hours. And so there is an opportunity for a great opening, acceleration, a quickening, a catalyst of soul growth and understanding these great mysteries of spirit and soul and matter like that. So I really encourage everyone, if you're where they're visible, to go have a look, play it safe with the glasses if it's solar and all that, but just to engage and to be present and to participate. And very importantly, we measure astrology from the center of Earth. So just because you don't see it doesn't mean you don't be it. So I'll get more into some ritual at the end here.
Wonderful. Thanks for that wrap up. Yeah, like I was saying, we probably won't have time to get into the whole Saros families, but that is something really quite for yourself to look into your own family of eclipses and, you know, get more detail on that family that you belong to, which is just totally fascinating on a you know, your individual level as well as the collective level. But you know, we possibly won't get that far into this today. But over the course of the next couple of weeks, we do have a few more. I know I'm having a session with Adam Gainsberg, a new agent, who's going to talk. He couldn't make it today, so we're going to talk more about the Mars detail. He wants to specifically hone into Mars on the South Node, which is quite rare, retrograde there, and a few others on the way. So there's what we come through with today. There'll be more coming up, okay? So let me begin to share my screen, Gemini, and we're both going to be able to hone in on... Can you just speak to see if speaker view comes up for you?
Well, it won't reflect on what I'm seeing on my screen, but I'll take a peek at Facebook.
No, hang on. I've got to put this on now. Sorry. Just getting a few things happening here. Because when you speak, I'd like you to be seen as well.
Okay, so I'll look on Facebook and we'll do a little tech test really quick. I'll wait until I see your screen pop up.
Okay.
And right now I'm just looking at you there. So now I see your screen shared, and now I'm babbling, and I just want to see in Facebook, yeah, we're a go for launch control. It's all
right. Okay. So look, before we start, I just want to take you a few, because I know many of you won't, come and go during this session, but let's do the adverts first. A few things coming up with the CIA. We've got an amazing retreat coming up in New South Wales, Australia. I know a lot of you are from, further afield, but who knows, you might be coming to Australia. We're like half booked out now, but it is in the most amazing tropical jungle during the next Venus retrograde in Scorpio. So we're doing some deep work with astrological light, and the main facilitator is Laura Boomer Trent from the UK and France, who has done a lot of work with the Tibetan masters over the years and has worked with the astrology of light. So this is our kind of significant sort of theme for this retreat coming up, plus a great program, so do check it out. I'll put all the links below as we go, or sort of after this session. And then we've also got a day pass for the Sunday the 14th of October for anyone in the area, which includes a really great program, as well as Jane 108 from Mathemagics. You might know of him. He's got an amazing Facebook page, and it's all about the sacred geometry, which he is going to be adding his take on the intersection of sacred geometry and astrology. So you can just come for a day.
A fan of his. He is revealing some of the depth of the codes of nature. So
yeah,
that's wonderful.
Yeah, and Gemini.
Liz is on with us now.
Oh great! Oh, okay, great, Liz. I'll get you back after I finish this. But you can, or Gemini. I'm not sure. Can you make her a Anyway, what do you call it? Not promoter.
I think she's all set up, but I'll check out what I can do.
Oh yes, I actually asked. That's right. So Liz, if you want to hone in as we talk, you can put your hand up. Although I can't see while I've got the full screen here. But anyway, yes, so thanks for bringing that in, because both Gemini and myself have always been very much connected to the natural kind of world of astrology, how it is part of nature, how the night sky is part of our, sort of natural psyche to be included in. So it's going to be amazing. So for anyone that is in those areas, please consider coming, and the links are on our website, of course. Coming up tomorrow is our next members webinar, which whatever we go through today, we get into much more detail and looking at people's charts with our members, okay? So if you're looking at learning how to read charts or what to do with this information, that we go through today, the membership is all about that, okay? And tomorrow we've got Agent 29 joining me, who is going to hone in on the Mars retrograde in Aquarius and how that very much relates to past lives, the karmic sort of part of our lives as well. And she's a regression therapist with some incredible insight. So agents, members, do remember that that's on. And then next week, as well as Adam Gainsberg on our free webinar coming up next week, is for our membership is Maurice Fernandez, also Agent 727, who's going to be talking about his new book, Neptune and the the 12th house and Pisces, which for anyone that has got, let's say, planets in the 12th house, the 12th house can be very much misunderstood in more of the ancient or traditional ideas that, you know, it's the place of doom and self-undoing and a lot of negative things. So Maurice has been researching that, or I think is quite passionate about that. So very much looking forward to that. And you can join that as a once-off, okay? So I'll add the details for that. And just a quick highlight about joining our membership. We still haven't put the prices up. We have had some people join in the last few weeks, and thank you for that, but we haven't managed to put the prices up because we're redoing our website. And this is our Mercury retrograde, Mars retrograde, that's all sort of coming up in our 1st and 7th house, and we are going to come back better and stronger, so to speak. So bear with us, but the prices will be going up. And then something I'm involved with, of course, the New Paradigm team and the Dream team has an amazing course coming up, or it actually has started just the other day. So, but you can book in any time to actually access an amazing sort of wealth of information, which is also what the CIA is going to be doing more of as we go. So let's have a look. We'll move on. Any questions about any of those things, do get in touch and I'll let you know more. Eclipses 2018. We've lived through, you know, the season back in January, February. And it's interesting what you said, Gemini, when, you know, the ancients would say, don't look at the eclipse. The one in January, 11 degrees of Leo, is, as many of us know, the secret agent degree, because we were told that that's what a lot of agents of the CIA and, you know, government officials that live in Washington, D.C. and stuff all have a common degree, or many of them, of 11 degrees of Leo. And the CIA's, our CIA's Mercury is 11 Leo. And the eclipse was 11 Leo. And there's many of us that met in India. And I remember one girl, not one of our agents, but as I was searching for the eclipse, it was really kind of low in the sky in the evening on that day. And there's so much smog in Calcutta that it was like, oh, I can't see anything. And then we kind of finally saw this red sort of ball. You know, it was really quite dark, and one of the people from Europe that was there looked at me and she said, "Oh, don't look at the eclipse," you know, as though you're asking for it by looking at the eclipse. And just given what kind of happened in this last few months of our Facebook hack and stuff, anyway, I just had to laugh at that. Anyway, I do look at the eclipses and I love seeing them, like many of us do. So here we are. We've got the first, yes.
You need to share your screen again.
Oh, really? It's gone off?
Yep.
What's going on?
It got eclipsed.
It got eclipsed. Now how do I want to, do I have to go through all this to accept? Get out. Shit.
So let me just say that a thing about that. I just from personal experience, I have found amazing magic results when I have engaged intentionally in a centered way, in a place of reverence and respect with eclipses. I've brought groups several times to see eclipses, and it's been a powerful thing. Oh yeah, Julija, we weren't looking at those slides of Maurice and Yane and the people.
Oh really?
So
let me just go through
that again at the end, or do you want to show us the pictures that meet
what happened there? Oh, but stranger things have happened. Anyway, so these are the beautiful pictures. Celestial Secrets, the day event, our webinar tomorrow for members only, but of course you can join, our special topic webinar with Maurice next week, free for all members and agents, but you can join for $25 for that one. And prices will be going up, I'd say, around the end of August, or our solar return, which is 23rd of August. And then this amazing course that's going on. So, okay. Well, thanks for letting me know that. I don't know why it flipped out. Anyway, yes, Mars is retrograde in Aquarius, which is the sign of computers and technology, isn't it? So let's have a look at this partial solar eclipse coming up in Cancer. As we can see, we've got Leo, Aquarius, Aquarius, Leo. Eclipses happen in a particular zone, so to speak, for 18 and a half months. And then the next kind of axis of or polarity comes into play as the others are petering out. Now, the lunar nodes move backwards in the zodiac, so therefore that's why we're going from Leo, Aquarius to move into Cancer and Capricorn. And we can see that this is the first one that we've got in Cancer after 18 years. So it gives us this kind of new flavour of, what's ahead. What will begin, full on by November, let's say, and the eclipses that come in January next year. Anything you want to add to that, Gemini or Liz?
I mean, I'll just say that, as we were mentioned before, there's also this changing of cycles. The partial solar eclipse that we'll have in Cancer belongs to a family that's been around since the year 792. And the one that's basically coming to replace it came around in 1928. So we're right in that transitional period. And to anchor into this beauty of Cancer and Leo, and where I really find kind of creator and creation, I'll get back into that later. But to understand that it's not entirely rare to have a triple eclipse season, but it's not that common. It's always in these months, and I'll explain maybe why later. But we're involved with something that's even more powerful than the typical eclipse seasons, I'll say.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, these are the three that we're honing into now. So the first one of the Cancer eclipses, and the biggest thing about this eclipse, I think that you can see by the cosmic lines that connecting the aspects, is of course this eclipse is opposite Pluto, and Pluto is and what we call the eclipse is also on Pluto's nodes, planetary nodes as well, which makes this, really highly significant as a turning point. We know that eclipses happen in the same area of the zodiac every, 19 years as the Metonic cycle and 18 years as a return of the Saros. So we've got this kind of 18, 19-year connection too. If we look back at these eclipses for year 2000 and the year 1999, am I correct there? But Pluto was not at 20 degrees of Capricorn at that time. So as we move into, let's say, the triple conjunction that will be happening with Pluto, Saturn, Jupiter, and more in 2020, I see this all as a kind of a foreplay into a lot more to come about the sort of transitioning of the planet into much more profound changes, let's say.
Absolutely. I mean, the significance of an eclipse on Pluto's nodes is one thing. But the truth that Pluto is also at his node, which will be the only time in our lifetimes that we experience this, okay? So I just want to open up an invitation for people to anchor into how powerful this is. I was speaking earlier about the moon snaking about the sun's path. Well, all planets do that. So the moon does it in a month. Pluto does it in 256 years and gets much higher. So folks who were born, for example, and there's a lot of you here, in 1980, 1981, that's when Pluto was way off the ecliptic plane, the Earth-Sun relationship, generally the plane of our solar system. And now, and you beings who study astrology, you'll know, folks who were born with Pluto in Libra in 80 and 81, now with Pluto in Capricorn, you're experiencing your Pluto square, Pluto transit, or opening, or invitation, or initiation. And that is happening. You were born with Pluto as far from the plane as possible, and now Pluto's down on the plane. So this eclipse, for the first time really in our lives, from the sun's point of view, this solar eclipse, it will go sun, moon, Earth, Pluto in a line. For the first time ever, and in some senses the only time, Earth is bigger than Pluto and much closer to the sun, so there's some leeway there, but it's a very powerful thing. And with Pluto, who can't be seen, there's something about this alignment of the hearts of the three things to Pluto that brings him into reality. And we don't really need to go here at all, now, but Pluto in Capricorn opposite the Cancer moon and sun and the eclipse in the moon sign. And on the squares, two so-called dwarf planets further out, Eris in the sign of Aries and Hathway in the sign of Libra, they form an invisible cross with Pluto and Capricorn to these two things that are visible, moon and sun in Cancer. Usually a new moon is not visible. What's the only time it is? At an eclipse. And there's something here where Cancer, which brings life and birth, is bringing the invisible into our reality, giving us an opportunity to look through the veil. And Pluto brings power to anything that aligns with it.
Yeah, that's right. And Liz, welcome, Liz. Thanks, Gemini. Sorry, I'm just welcoming Liz, and thanks for being up so late. Now, Liz, I'll introduce you briefly. Liz is New Agent 115, and you're in Amsterdam and up late for us. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Julia. It's lovely to see you
yes.
after a long time.
Now, one thing, I didn't catch your video last night, but I know that you did one, and I know you mentioned the Grand Earth Trine, and of course that is what's happening as well during all of this. Would you like to add something here?
Just to pick up something on what Gemini said as well about this eclipse series, that it's actually fading out. It's the last but one in the second Old North series. And when it began, Pluto was also in Capricorn. So it's quite interesting, I think, that we have now Pluto on the Sun-Moon midpoint. So indeed, this is making it very deep. It's a sort of, I feel it's kind of a weakening of it in some ways, of the actual eclipse, because it's the actual series is almost at its end. There's just one more in this series before it's finished. But still, yeah, the Pluto is very prominent, I think so as well, since it was also in Capricorn in the birth series. But yeah, the Grand Earth Trine is great, isn't it?
Well, that's, we can hone into that as a powerful time for real, Earth, of course, is all about manifesting. So, what are we manifesting through this time, yeah?
I think we have to use our minds a bit. I mean, this is the first meeting with Venus and Uranus as well, since Uranus has moved into Taurus. I mean, Uranus is ruled by Venus, and Venus in Virgo, I always think gets bad press. When in fact, Venus in Virgo really is a rational Venus, isn't it? It's a thinking Venus. It's a shrewd Venus. These are all probably feminine qualities that in the past weren't that appreciated, in a woman. Yeah, you were supposed to be quite pliable and there for your man, and a thinking woman was quite dangerous. But I think it's an interesting grand trine, this one, and I'm sort of I'm into mundane, but I like to see as well how things pan out, because this is the first trine with Saturn in its own sign, Uranus in Taurus, and Venus in what I consider quite an interesting placement, not in fall, but in a rather interesting placement for Venus, and a clever Venus, an intelligent thinking Venus. But yeah, it's
very good. And I like that she's with Ceres too, because Ceres is, with this Plutonic theme, Ceres is also an underworld goddess. So we're being initiated into, let's say, new realms, or sort of new realms of profound sort of shifts, again, that we probably don't know so much the significance of, because anything to do with Pluto or the underworld tends to be a lot slower. It's not like apparent, like Uranus, boing, here it is. But of course, with Uranus in play there, all sorts of things are happening.
Yeah, and speaking of slow, Neptune just stationed, in the end of June. Jupiter stationed today. So it's much looser, but there's also a bit of this grand water trine happening with Scorpio,
still
Jupiter, and Pisces, Neptune with the Cancer eclipse to them. And they're like stopped, they're like standing there watching this party. Mercury too is reaching maximum elongation at this time. There's a lot of pause for the planets, at least from Earth's point of view, to witness this happening. And there's something I was getting into today, just like sessions have been bringing this in, of the Uranus-Neptune conjunctions, which were in 93 and a long time before that. They were all in the sign of Capricorn. Saturn's actually at one of these degrees now, and Pluto's close to another one right now. And I just feel this huge, like, real world shift. It's like these eclipses are coming to align to the Pluto project that's been happening in Capricorn since 2008. And it just feels like there's an acceleration gate here for very real things in our own lives and in the greater world right now too.
Yeah, for sure. I really like, last night sort of, as we're watching something on TV and the headlines coming up that the 12th boy came out of the cave. And that's so very Jupiter, stationed, to go direct, wonderful Jupiter story of this release. And I think they actually went lost when Neptune actually stationed retrograde or around that time. And then they're kind of, freed or, alive and well and living with Jupiter, stationing direct. So, sorry, Liz?
Yeah, no, definitely. And again, I think there's that bit of mastery of Earth in the sense that we were able, to sort of maneuver our way through this incredibly complex cave system and actually bring people out. And what I found fascinating, because, I think eclipses have an ability to draw events to them, from months before and also months later. But the amount of attention that has been given to the psychology of these boys has been really interesting, don't you think? How it is to be in the dark. I've read quite a lot of articles about just the psychology of how this will affect them when they are actually back above ground, what this underworld experience will have done to their psyches. I find this all very sort of like Pluto in a way, what this will do to them, the effect of it long term.
Well, being trapped is also a very Saturn thing as well, isn't it? So Saturn, I know, it's aligned with the nodes as well in kind of a difficult aspect. But of course, the story, a group, a soccer team, Mars retrograde of boys, right? And the amazing feat of, whatever technology or just kind of group work, collective group work to sort of actually get them out. And all I could help thinking was also when they got out, oh wow, they can watch the soccer now. Like they can see the finals. They are a soccer team, aren't they? So anyway, so good things coming. So, as we can think about, Jupiter now, going direct, it's also quite a significant time for us to sort of, let's say, get on with it. Although Mars is retrograde, we'll talk about that a lot more. But, there's so many things that can be done in a retrograde time, especially as significant as Mars retrograde, because it's the rarest of the retrogrades. Like it happens every 2 years or 26 months. So that, and in Aquarius, it actually happens the even rarest, thanks to, I think, Nick Dagan Best, who, is such a kind of expert on Mars cycles and Venus cycles that, it happens the rarest in Aquarius. The next retrograde will be in Aries. We skip Pisces this time. But so think about how rare that is for you in your own life to be having this wherever that is in your chart as well.
Julija, I'd love to add just a piece of why that is. Okay, So an outer planet retrograde like Mars is Earth passing Mars by. And we've all experienced this thing when you're passing a car on the highway, though you're both moving forward, it actually looks like the planet or the car that you're passing is moving backwards for a time, right? And so the middle of Mars's 2-month retrograde will be Earth is close to Mars. That happens during every time Mars retrogrades, about every 2 years. But Mars's orbit and no orbit is circular. And so there's a point in Mars's orbit where he's closest to the sun. It's called a perihelion. And for Mars, that lives in our day and age in very early degrees Pisces. So when Mars is in Aquarius, especially late Aquarius and early Pisces, he is fastest in his own orbit. And a fastest Mars means it's more tricky for Earth to pass Mars by. You see? So that's why it's very rare there. And the very important thing about it is when Mars is in Aquarius, he's closest to the sun. And that means as Earth is passing Mars by, it's the closest Earth and Mars can ever get. The closest was 2003, literally their closest in 60,000 years. And this year, we're just about as close. So if you've seen Mars with your eyes in the sky recently, he is dark, red, amazing. And by late July, when the sun is opposite the middle of Mars retrograde, he will rise at sunset. Adam Gainsbourg will come on and speak in the special about that, because Adam coined this term that I love, midnight star, which is that the star is culminating in the middle of the night. And the way that Mars is aligning, the way that this lunar eclipse we'll get to is aligning to Mars at this time when Mars is so profoundly close to Earth. It's an amazing thing. We see Mars slow because he's in stations in retrograde, but he's actually very fast in his own course. And I'll share this about triple eclipses too, because this is a theme of these eclipses. There's planets that are slow, there's planets that are fast that are making all this happen. The reason why triple eclipses happen, I'll tell you the years: 1953, 64, 71, 82, 2000, 2011, 2018. The next one will be 2029, 2036, 2047. They're rare. They're not that rare, but they're rare. And they all happen in June, July, August. And the reason why is because the new moon has to meet near the node. And at this time, specifically around July 4th, this year was July 6th, Earth is furthest from the sun in our own orbit. And that means slow Earth, or from Earth's point of view, slow sun. And that means sun has a greater journey from one new moon to the next new moon. It's going to travel less distance and has more of an opportunity to stay close enough to these crossing points of moon and sun, the nodes, for some type of eclipse to happen. And this is where, as Liz was saying, and we mentioned earlier, an old cycle, this time from 792, is ending, and a new cycle is being born to take its place. So there is birth and death and transformation and all this plutonic and fast and slow. So much of the wonderful nerdy astronomy stuff that I love, that's opening up the gateway for us to really change and grow and shift and accelerate in this period.
Yeah, I see it as pretty exciting as well, and getting some things really happening, you know, because what's really highlighted, and especially for the second eclipse coming up, is what's called the fixed, you know, the fixed axis with, you know, Aquarius, Leo, Taurus, Scorpio, all very in play. And, you know, the fixed signs are very much about sort of, you know, like consolidating, you know, sticking to what you kind of believe in or want to do or really want to get off the ground and really working at it. So, you know, there's that sort of part of it as well. As Gemini has been talking about the eclipses, if you see this second one, the total lunar one, you can see that the sun and the moon are, of course, very close to the nodes, and this is where we get, of course, the total eclipses when the sun and the moon align with the nodes very closely, or as you can see in the previous one. Oops, where did we go? Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry. Oh, shit. This one, if we. It's going back, not where I want it to. This one, we can see this first eclipse on Friday, 20 degrees of Cancer, and how far away it is from the nodes, about 15 degrees. So that's where, you know, where we see partial eclipses coming into play. So I just wanted to add that to the story. So here's the second one. We'll talk about these all a bit more individually as we go. And then the third one at 18 degrees of Leo, a partial eclipse as well on the 11th of August. And you can see it's partial again because look how far away it is from the nodes again, okay? So that's like, again, 15 degrees away from the nodes. So that's how we can tell. I mean, you can look at a chart. You can look at a chart and see if the sun and the moon are close to the nodes. You know that, or the sun has to be there to start with, that someone is born near eclipses or in eclipse season as well, okay? So keep an eye on that. And as we talked about, the nodal shift that is this Cancer eclipse that is bringing in this next series of eclipses in the Cancer-Capricorn polarity that will be ignited, you know, more significantly next year. But then next year we also will get one more eclipse in Leo in January. So it's the last of this Leo Aquarius kind of time. So Leo kind of goes out, you know, this total lunar one will be Aquarius, the next one Leo, and then the last hurrah for Leo at 0 Leo before it goes backward into 29 of Capricorn and Cancer. So just keep an eye on that. That's how eclipses work. Now, since the Cancer solstice, I think Mars and Venus were on the nodes themselves, and really kind of highlighted for me a significant kind of theme for the next 6 months or the next 3 months for how incredible Mars and Venus will be in the night sky. This is what really, again, makes this series of eclipses quite unique, with Mars and Venus playing such a significant visual role in what's going on. Mars, as Gemini was saying, at his brightest, closest to Earth. In the southern hemisphere, he's in what we call, he's out of bounds now, and will be traveling out of bounds in southern declination, meaning that in the southern hemisphere where I am, Australia and so on, we have him super bright. If you think he's bright up your way, he's just amazing down here. So you've got to come down here. And in 2 years' time, when he's back again, this series of his orbit is closest to the Earth in 2003 now, and in 2020 also. It won't be that much different, but he's going to be higher in the sky and more attuned to, let's say, the northern hemisphere, having a better look. So just to keep that in mind. So incredible kind of view. It's the time to get out and see him, isn't it? It's the rarest. Again, the out of bounds makes this also quite significant. The fact that he's in Aquarius makes it quite significant. He's bright red and close and out of bounds. So it's a really unruly or magnificent Mars, really, even though he is retrograde. And then what we have during this time is that Venus will be moving towards her maximum elongation. It doesn't happen till mid-August, but nevertheless, Venus and Mars will contact, in the sense that Venus will be nearly maximum elongation and Mars will be maximally out of bounds at the same time after these eclipses. So I find that that's really, really important sort of time to focus ourselves on what we're most passionate about getting off the ground at this point of our lives as well. And then, connecting it all into what we'd say the Aquarian zone for Mars, moving from our personal to our co-creative aspects with other people in our lives to the more transpersonal. We're actually wanting to get a lot of things together at the moment, aren't we? It's not just one thing for ourselves. It's for the planet. It's for the good of all. It's what I can get most out of everything I do, as well as it connects to all of those things. So just a few words there. So we're moving with the personal, my needs, the interpersonal, what my partner, what my colleagues, what the others need as well, because as much as you're needing something, so are they, and how much we're prepared to give for all of that. The Scorpio also relates to that type of thing of what we, how concerned we are about others' feelings in regard to what we're doing, or how we're, let's say, maybe trapped by those sort of things. And we're considering all of that type of thing because the Aquarian highlight of Mars retrograde there is, again, sort of striving for our own freedom. Like, why can't I have this amongst this? Why can't I be in love and also free? Why can't I, have a job that I enjoy? All of those things are coming up for us in this fixed cross kind of area. Venus won't be retrograde in the Scorpio zone till later in the year, but she comes into play during this, like being quite significantly bright and rising to her, let's say, maximum elongation in the evening sky. So watching for her at this time is also important. Would you like to add anything, agents?
I think the fixed axis here as well is also about what we value collectively, but also personally. And I think it's really interesting with it because I think the US has just had its nodal return. So this is all going on around the US node. And in terms of wealth, which is very much a Scorpio thing, and shared wealth, Venus, it's very interesting, all these trade wars that are going on in the US at the moment. It's all about the US deals with China and, big money and how we can sting another country. It's all about business at the moment. Also in the UK, how are we going to survive? So that sort of fixed axis of, certainly Scorpio, Taurus, I feel that's really sort of coming into play now, and things are going to change there with Uranus moving into one of the strong axes in that fixed cross. Does that make sense to you as well?
Yeah. I mean, I really see Uranus in Taurus playing that role. Like, things are changing, guys. It's not going to work the same as usual. And if again, from our personal lives to the more collective spirit, we can't expect the same things to work the same way that we're used to. Uranus in Taurus is a once-in-a-lifetime transit that is really kind of shaking up the way that we've expected things to be. So, it's kind of like, get ready for that.
It's a spanner in the works, isn't it, in terms of the business community, things that have flown really nice. Suddenly, Trump's in power. We've got a big issue in Europe with Britain, leaving the EU. So it's not business as usual. There's a kind of a twist. There's a kind of a, things are unsettled. We're not quite sure what's going to happen next. Whereas with Taurus, normally we're used to some kind of a solid, everything's sort of nice and fixed, cozy, comfortable. But it's kind of quite interesting. Certainly, I think that node, with the US and this sort of whole trade war that's going on, I think it's quite fascinating in a way as well.
It's all very, very interesting. And also the Mercury retrograde coming up just for this spell that starts before the next eclipse, putting, as you said, the spanner in the works, like what will happen in that time. Although it's not on that sort of cross exactly, it's still in that zone, isn't it?
And Mercury, definitely. And it's a trading planet as well, isn't it? Mercury's...
actually all about trade, So we're not allowed to give predictions with astrology in public, are we? To do with trading. I just know that the agents that work in the trading world have to be very careful about what they predict. So we're saying nothing.
All right.
All right. So just for everyone out there, just kind of, these four corners of your life, have a good kind of, it's almost like in that sort of, the astrology that we can do, like go and sit in that Taurus corner and get grounded, see what's going on, and put Uranus there and have a bit, shift a few things around, and we can get very creative about doing these experiential things for ourselves. Go to the Leo corner and see what's going on there and ignite something there. Same with Scorpio and Aquarius. It's almost like have a talk in every corner. And then put it together to help it make sense for yourselves, okay? So the Mars retrograde, where it's going to be in the middle of its cycle during that July 27th eclipse. So therefore, that's the time that it will be the most magnificent. And if we look at this kind of Mars, as in he entered shadow zone back in May and only leaves by October the 10th, once actually Venus has gone retrograde. So they're kind of having a tag team of retrograde loops going on for both of Mars and Venus. Again, how significant to get the Mars and Venus activated and really, impassioned about what it is you want to be getting together for your own future. How important that is now. Collectively as well. This is a graph of, it looks like the spirograph, but of the Mars cycle, and you can see that the Mars cycle is not as even as the Venus cycle, and we get this kind of loop. So every 26 months Mars will loop or retrograde in a particular area of the zodiac, and it takes about 15 to 16 years for it to loop completely around the zodiac. Therefore it skips a sign here and there, and therefore making this loop in Aquarius really quite different, because the last time it looped in Aquarius was 37 years ago, and the next time it will do that is in 32 years. So again, once in a lifetime chances, for many of us, okay? This is what the Mars cycle looks like. So the cycle of Mars began last year with the Mars-Sun conjunction at 4 degrees Leo, and now it peaks exactly in the same spot. So we wanting to remember what was happening for us last July as well, that tags into what's happening now for us during eclipse season, as Mars is let's say, reminding us of, something that was, let's say, seeded back then with the new Mars-Sun cycle. And then the next retrograde, or the next Mars-Sun conjunction, will be in Virgo next year. I think it's September, and then it peaks again in Aries. And you can see that next loop of Mars won't be as tidy as this one, not as opposite. And so it will be in Aries, quite off skew from the opposition. So it misses Pisces, which is something also to think about. And then the next loop begins. So I think, the Mars retrograde on the South Node in Aquarius is one thing that binds all these eclipses really significantly together for us to do all these rewords somehow. I know we're redoing the website. Gemini's removing. Liz, what's happening for you? Anything significantly Mars retrograde?
Well, it's ruler of my ascendant, so certainly it's an important planet for me. I found actually when it was in Capricorn, I definitely had a lot more sort of drive, and I was sort of getting things organized. Then sort of this retrograde period, I'm sort of like working on things that are not visible yet, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Like my website, for example, I have someone coming today. It's the middle of the night here, as you can see.
Yes.
Out there. But so it's a sort of it's a kind of a process. I think that retrograde Mars, that you can actually maybe work on things. Certainly as ruler of the ascendant, that are not quite visible yet.
And not being in a hurry is probably important too, because that's like going against the grain. Like whatever is going on, it's going to take time. So, again, Mercury going retrograde at this time, or, before the next eclipse, all of that is just kind of giving us time to regroup and reassess and all that type of thing. And then as Mars moves back into Capricorn, he's going to be out of bounds. So it's a kind of it's a paradox, isn't it? It's retrograde, but it's also kind of pushing the boundaries. So it's pushing the boundaries beyond what it usually does, and amazing things can happen in those times.
Yeah, look, I'm up at 2:00 in the morning, Julie. Now we're talking about things that are out of bounds.
That's right. And then, going back into Capricorn, where it will go direct again, is like, are we working on reclaiming or recommanding something? So it's like, it's almost like we're doing the climb still. We are doing the climb backwards, but it's for the reason to sort of climb higher in the end somehow for all of us. So I think I've said all of this in that sense. So let's just move on. And this is just a declination graph. So the peak of Mars is out of bounds, let's say, is on the 16th of August, which I was saying is also the time that Venus will be maximum elongation on the August the 17th. So from at 10 degrees of Libra. She's not her brightest till September the 25th, but this maximum elongation point is a significant thing to, let's say, represent strength in her and our desires and passions, as well as what Mars represents that way as well. So, where is that happening for all of you, and how can you kind of move on with that? So keeping in mind, this is just a planetary node, graph that I got from Solar Fire. If anyone wants to do, I won't get into it now, but if anyone wants to do more work on finding out where the nodes are for oneself or in their chart, you can have a look at these again. And then there's the heliocentric and the geocentric nodes. So I won't get into that discussion. I might do that in the membership. So Mercury retrograde. And I think the Mercury retrograde that starts before this next eclipse is significant because it squares Jupiter. It started off with Jupiter, just yesterday or the day before, squaring Jupiter, who was actually at a station, which makes Jupiter much more significant. And then it does it 3 more times over this eclipse season. So you know, are we believing in the change? Jupiter brings in that sort of aspect of believing in what we're doing as well. If we're not walking the talk, if we're not believing in the change, then, you know, it's not going to change as we want it. So there is this sort of strong sort of sense of needing to believe in the future, believe in the change, be perhaps more positive with what's going on as well in these difficult times. And it's amazing how it can get you through. Anything to add there with the Jupiter? And the Scorpio, I mean, going direct in Scorpio, you know, all those kind of feelings that have arisen for us over the last, you know, so many months with Jupiter retrograde. Now he's on his way out. He's on his way out. He's going off to Sagittarius. He's not coming back to Scorpio. Okay, so we're not for 12 years at least. So this is, you know, this retrograde pass, or this significantly last one of Jupiter here, or it's the only one that he did, sorry, in Scorpio, has really helped us kind of go deep with what feels wrong or right. And now it's time to live that, time to bring that out into the picture, into our story. Yes?
Yeah, I think it's also sort of inner process of learning. It's learning through, you know, going and sifting through all these different levels of yourself. It's kind of learning from, you know, your own emotional, you know, your own emotional issues and wrestling with them and getting over them. I think Jupiter direct definitely is a sort of a kind of a symbolic victory in a way over yourself. And I think when you get into Sag, it's almost like the hallelujah moment, you know, you've crossed the river Styx, you're on the other side, you know. But I think it's a sort of a lot to do with the depth of your own, you know, your own feeling life and your own, how you deal with things that come, you know, intense emotional things that, you know, all of us at certain points, you know, come our way. But I'm glad it's going direct. That's for sure. So,
well, now it's time to learn. You know, use the wisdom that we've gleaned from this experience, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's move on. So, this eclipse again, we'll talk about it more with Adam as well. But as you can see, Mars is right in the picture. You know, it's probably not the best day to go out and see Mars either, because it's right, you know, the moon's there. The full moon is going to be there.
Julia, it's actually an amazing time to see Mars if you're where the eclipse is visible.
Yeah,
So one of the great, amazing things about a lunar eclipse, of course, you're dealing with a full moon. Yeah. And this moon will be with Lilith, so it's actually going to be a little further, smaller, slower, because Black Moon Lilith we really should call Far Moon Lilith. But Mars is out of bounds. So Mars is way below the moon.
The ecliptic,
You'll see, I mean, you'll really see what that means to be out of bounds. Like the moon will be right on the Earth-Sun line, the zodiac, and Mars is dropped down there. And so what happens during the lunar eclipse is the moon is so bright, you don't see that many stars. But if you're somewhere where it's dark, the eclipse starts happening and the stars start popping out. And then the eclipse becomes full and the Milky Way comes out. It's like, you know, suddenly turns into like a new moon sky, basically. It's going to be an amazing time to see Mars. And you'll see this bright red Mars and then a copper orange red moon right above, and get into the blood that pumps in your heart.
Planning to get out to the country for that, yes.
Yay. And for you, it will be Mars above the moon, right? In the southern hemisphere, it'll be Mars well above the moon and very high. For some of you, almost directly over your head. In the northern hemisphere, where we won't, well, in Europe, in Asia, you'll see this total lunar eclipse, and Mars will be below. So, I mean, one thing that's wonderful about lunar eclipses, unlike a solar eclipse, and we don't have total solar eclipses in this season, but with a solar eclipse, we've got the moon moving between sun and earth, and it's like a little pebble in front of the projector, so we just get a little shadow line on the earth, and you have to be in specific places to see the eclipse in its totality when that comes around. With a total lunar eclipse, we're talking about the shadow of earth, which is much bigger than the moon, especially when the moon is at Lilith, which is the case for this eclipse. And that brings a long eclipse, by the way, a lunar eclipse. But everywhere where it's night sees the lunar eclipse, it really connects the world. And like I said, in the northern hemisphere, Mars under the moon, In the southern hemisphere, Mars above the moon. So it helps us get this tale of two hemispheres and this connection and this global energy in that witness. Some people see it with the eclipse rising. Some people see it with the eclipse setting. It's always a great time of global unity in these opportunities. Mm-hmm. We're all looking at the same stars, just in different orientations.
Yeah. Well, lucky here we see the first eclipse here on Friday, if it's clear in the morning. So that it's a very small eclipse, as we know, petering out. And around Antarctica and Melbourne, or just part of southern Australia. So, and then the lunar one for Australia is like 5 in the morning. So we'll put some links up in the thread here for where you can see them and that type of thing as we finish up. And then the 18 Leo one, what would you like to add? I mean, the significant thing that pops out here is Mars and Black Moon Lilith has just moved into Aquarius, which I'm going to have Agent 55 connect with her to tell us more about Black Moon Lilith in Aquarius. But anything you'd like to add there, you two?
I just find it really interesting that it so resembles the Nostradamus, the Grand Cross eclipse of 1999. It really ties into that eclipse on many levels. If you look at a double wheel of that 1999 eclipse and you lay it over this one, then
the same Saros one or the same degree?
No, that was the Metonic cycle.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, 99. Okay, yeah, 18 Leo.
Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with the Saros cycle.
No, it's the Metonic. Yeah,
it's Metonic. Yeah.
Yeah, it's simply to do with the visual, where the planets are, and so it almost seems like it's in a way it could it be that it's sort of still tuning into that same energy in some way, because it's, I don't know, that 1999 eclipse was like, really bigged up, and in terms of what went on in the world, it wasn't like major dramatic. But, you did see in the UK, for example, just a few months before that eclipse, we had Nigel Farage getting into the European Parliament and saying his job was to get Britain out of the EU, which he actually succeeded in doing. So that really ties into that eclipse. So I think now, with this whole issue of time running out for us leaving, it's interesting that a very similar eclipse is sort of coming into play. I think it's very much about our values in a way, this sort of fixed axis kind of eclipse. But did you notice that, you both as well, the similarity to that 1999 eclipse? It's on the same date.
Right, because 19 years is 235 lunations. And eclipses won't always happen in Metonic strings. They can either have 4 or 5 repetitions, and this is one of them. There's some amazing connections last year with the Saros of that 99 eclipse, and this year is the Metonic. And I'll just say that if you're in the Saros Metonic window, so they go 18, 19, 36 to 38, 54 to 57, 72 to 76, 90 to 98. They open as you move through life. These are amazing times, nodal return times, where you are being redirected to your soul path. And I was going to add some Mars numbers, but I'd really rather kind of reserve my words until I share this ritual.
All right, we won't be long now. Just so interesting, and of course I know this, but I started formally studying astrology in mid-year, so August 1999.
Wow.
So it is quite significant for me. I'm also 54, so my eclipse Saros happened, or pre-eclipses happened earlier in this year when we were in India. So, it's, I don't know, it's tying in all together. I'll have to look at all of that a bit more personally as well now. Just a reminder of the Venus, this Venus cycle that we're in. It started in Aries, it peaked in Capricorn, and it's ending and beginning again in Scorpio. Now, all of these signs are very Martian, or Mars is, let's say, elevated in Capricorn, Mars rules Scorpio, and Mars rules Aries. So again, how that ties into how significant, let's say, Mars and Venus are in this time to get, our values connected together with our actions and you know, and so forth. So keeping in mind this cycle as being also very important, and we'll talk about that more as we go down the track as well.
We're also in the Aries Mercury cycle, and Mercury is at maximum elongation here, just about to station retrograde at the time of the first of the triple eclipse.
Okay, yeah, all
and
right.
Coming back where he'll have his next Kazemi in Leo during this. And the retrograde motion reminds us of the retrograde motion of the nodes and of the eclipses also. But Venus will come in and trine Mars, right, from in air
from
sign,
Libra,
from Libra, and square Saturn, right? So really, there's beautiful symbols opening up.
Yeah, there's a lot more detail going on. I'll finish with the slides now, just reminding you of all these wonderful things we've got coming up, and I will stop the share. And of course, there's a lot more that we could all be talking about. But look at that, an hour's just gone by like that. So let me just, if you two want to share some more insights, I'll just field some questions or see what's going on in the chats. And before we kind of move over to Gemini to, let's say, tie it up for today and do a short ritual for us all. Liz, is there something that you'd like to add to, again, any of the insights that we've looked into today?
No, I'm really pleased I joined in. I got up for it. I just thought it would be great to just to have the experience, see how it worked. So I'm really gonna look again at the whole presentation, because there was a lot of information came whizzing by there, and with Mars retrograde, I need to digest it as ruler of my ascendant. I'm going to have a sit with it later, and that's what I'm going to be doing.
It's nice to meet you here, Agent.
Thank you. Nice to meet you as well.
Yeah, there's so many of you that, let's say, don't know each other. I am the kind of the core, you know, that binds us together in a sense. But, you know, other people sort of suggest agents like, you know, so-and-so wants to join, and, you know, that's how it works around here. So anyone who wants to join the agency as an agent, then do get in touch as well. There's a lot of things coming up. And we're always very much enjoying what we do. That's the best part of it all. And learning so much from each other. Sharing the information. That's the world of astrology these days, which is great to see. I'm quite excited about where astrology is going. The bringing down of the real sky, Gemini, that has been a big role of yours as well, to how important it is to follow the sky, to understand the stars. You know, Uranus in Taurus for me is always that sort of idea that we're bringing down, you know, real natural astrology back, you know, bringing it back somehow. And I actually can somewhat see, you know, astrocartography. I didn't put any astrocartography charts together, but the other day I was so excited because the new Astro Gold, you can animate a chart and see the lines moving across the planet. Whoa, I'll show you that next time. And that's so Uranus in Taurus. It's like animating, you know, the astro lines in a map. So some good things to look forward to astrologically in so many departments. So listen, I think there's not really too many questions. Hang on. One question: what are the different series family you were talking about? Okay. It's called Saros families and metonic cycles, but again, we're not going to get into that. I think you've got some videos, YouTube on that type of thing, haven't you, somewhere? We can connect some in the dots in the thread down below. Okay.
I'm recording a series about these eclipses. I just put up one about the cosmology, and I'll be speaking about the astronomy next. So you can follow me on YouTube. It's just Gemini Brett, and see those if you want.
And More Than Astrology, that's your kind of website and Facebook page.
Astrology.com. I'll share a couple of websites too where people can do some eclipse search when you're ready to turn me loose.
Yeah. And then also Liz, Liz, where can people find you? Because you're also doing video series as well now on YouTube.
Yeah, just started quite recently. Yeah, you can find me on YouTube. I'm using the name Astrovizier because originally I was doing it in Dutch, but I just realized it was more natural for me to use English. I'm a native English speaker, not a native Dutch speaker.
Right. Excellent. Yeah, so connect to these wonderful agents with their own personal kind of world going on, as well, in the insights that they bring. And I will see you next time. So over to Gemini now, and, you know, to finish us off, so to speak. But
cool. Yeah. So I'm not going to do a ritual, but present to you guys a ritual that you can do during this month with these 3 eclipses. So we'll speak about this symbolism a little. I'll probably take 12 minutes. I'll start by sharing a couple images. So how do we do this? Here we go. So this beautiful thing, but where do I want this? Okay. So first of all, at my website, which is morethan-astrology.com/sacred astro, you'll find this Sacred Astro course for bringing the actual astronomy in a sacred way. And the first 12 lessons are free. So I hope you'll go check it out. It works like a mystery school where you have to answer the test question at the end of the first chapter. It's the password to the second. So go play if you'd like. And it's about teaching the actual heaven to earth correspondence. This is my favorite eclipse site ever. It's called moonblink.info, and there's an eclipse search page over here where you can click in any year, including like your birth year or whatever, and it will show you all of the eclipses this year, show you if they're lunar, solar, total, or partial, and then show you what families they belong to. So I can look at this partial solar eclipse of July 13th and see that it began in 792, and every time it came around every 18 years, and when it's going to end, which is in 2054, 2 more times, and then to see this partial solar eclipse of August 11th, which is of 155, that came to replace it. Hey, Control, will you hit mute, please? Because we're hearing your click-clack.
Sorry.
No worries. And that one runs all the way till 2992. It began in 1928. So we're right in the kind of shifting of these things. These will also show you where they're visible on Earth. And here's the total solar eclipse of July, or lunar eclipse of July 27th, where everywhere in the light here will have an opportunity, if sky allows, to see the lunar eclipse. So almost all of Europe, almost all of Asia, almost all of Africa, really all of Africa, and some of South America as well, some of Australia. I mean, it's a pretty global eclipse. I happen, where I am in Seattle, I am going to be on the exact opposite side of Earth from where this eclipse is visible. But it's something that I work with profoundly. I'll say this: we measure astrology not from the surface of the Earth where we can see these things. That's where the houses exist, but the signs are measured from the center of Earth. And the beautiful thing that there is that that's where we're all connected. That's where we're all one. So just because you don't see it doesn't mean you don't be it. So it's cool to find out when these eclipses are happening. I'll share one more site, which is timeanddate.com. And it's a wonderful resource. You can type in where you are, and there is a sun and moon, sun calculator, which will tell you sunrise and midday times and stuff. There's an eclipse page, and it will tell you for where you are, where the eclipses are visible. You can just type in your zone right here, where the next ones are visible. It's a great resource online. So moonblink.info and timeanddate.com are my kind of go-to spots for eclipse research, and thanks to the astronomers for hooking us up with the data that we use to heal people. Okay, so speaking of, we're talking about Cancer, Leo. I mean, traditionally associated with the moon and the sun, the 2 beings which from Earth we're honoring at the time of an eclipse, right? I mean, these are really profound times. The nodes where eclipses happen, as Julija mentioned earlier, they retrograde through the zodiac about 18 and a half years. It's actually 18.618 years, spending about 1.5 years per sign. The North Node's been in Leo, South Node Aquarius since May of 2017, and they will regress into North Node Cancer, South Node Capricorn in November of this year, 2018. And this Cancer solar eclipse is the announcement that the shift is about to happen. So the eclipses have been moving from the Leo Aquarius realm, and they will move into the Cancer Capricorn realm. And there's a beautiful thing here, because like the Venus star, like the Mercury star, like precession of the equinoxes, like Mars retrograding from Aquarius back to Capricorn, like Mercury's retrograde movement during these eclipses, we have the opportunity sometimes to go backwards. And instead of thinking Aries, Taurus, Gemini, what happens when we bring Gemini to Taurus? What happens when we bring Leo to Cancer? And that's where I would love for you to kind of focus in your own ceremony and ritual for this triple eclipse season. It's a powerful gate for so many reasons that we mentioned today, and so many reasons we don't have time to. But I will say this, my mantra for the fixed signs, which are Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius, fix yourself to fix the world. They are signs of personal empowerment, and therefore they are the signs that our twisted ass culture does its best to diminish and dim and mute. Because when you go into your Taurus, when you go into your Leo, when you go into your Scorpio, into your Aquarius, and friends, we are all of the signs, we are all of the cycles. When we go into those places, we are talking about expansion on a personal growth level, a personal empowerment. And Leo says, what are you manifesting? You are a creator. You are the painter of your life's canvas. And usually we open into that Leo gift, if I can do anything, when we have a supportive, this is Cancer, tribe, you know, a safe place to sleep and eat and some comfort to reconnect to the dream and bring that into this way where we find the fire, not only in spirit, but bring it into the hara, our inspiration, where we can create from. Now we're bringing that fire back to the tribe, back to the Cancer, back to the home and family. And with all this retrograde motion and the opportunity with this total lunar eclipse in Aquarius for profound revolution within and then without, this is a time I think that's going to really open a gateway for us to get back into some of our patternings and wounds of youth, not only in our own individual experience, especially there, but also as tribe, nation, species. Like, we're having opportunities to go deep and go back. And the gift is to bring art to the mix. And to do this, Cancer, in tribe, in families, like call in the crew. And so the process that I'm sharing and that I'm committing myself to is a threefold process. And the last is something you're probably familiar with, which is to create a vision board. So if you're not, the general idea is flip through some magazines and grab images that speak to what you're calling in your life right now. If you practice astrology or you're following the chart, which house is the Leo eclipse, the last eclipse in for you? That's kind of the goal space, right? And so, you know, say that's in the 7th and you're calling in relationship. What is an image of beautiful love and supportive partnership and somebody that, you know, can teach you and learn from you and you can learn into the whole thing? What does that look like? What does that feel like? And can we create that as a collage, an artistic piece? And seeing that vision board every day reminds us subconsciously to manifest that and welcome that into our reality. But I would say start first with the opposite. I call it the compost board. So look at the patterns that you want to release. With the Cancer eclipse ending with the Leo eclipse in this triple cycle and the Aquarius lunar in between, that's great shift. Think about the things where mom maybe said, oh, you know, for me, oh, like, you're a great musician, but honey, you should get a real job. You know what I mean? Or you can do anything you want except for those things you want to do. You know, that stuff that isn't really said, especially that haunts us, or the things that were said that really abused us and constricted us, or the patterns that have plagued us in partnerships, whatever it may be. Look at that business and create art around it, honor it, yeah? And so the compost board is something to do at the time of the Cancer solar eclipse, which is July 12th or the 13th, depending on where you live. And it's basically just symbols of the things that you're ready to release at this time. and play with that. Again, I think with the nature of Cancer, it's wonderful to do this in family and tribe. And it's not going to last that long. Don't take a picture, okay? You can show it to your crew and kind of reflect to one another what's going on if you're feeling that. But during the lunar eclipse, you're going to burn the thing, okay? So this is July 27th. And if you're someplace where you can actually see the blood moon, start a fire and burn it in front of the eclipse. If you're where I am on the West Coast, we're literally, the lunar eclipse is going to be during midday. So of course we don't see it because no moon's up, right? But the sun will be culminating. And so what I can do, in Seattle, it's 1:20 p.m. It's literally the sun at the midheaven. I can turn my back to the sun, have the courage to look at my shadow, allow that light to shine on the back of my heart and from me, and see that shadow bringing me into the center of Earth. And it will go sun, Brett, Earth, Moon, Mars, all in this alignment. I can still be part of the eclipse. A thing that you can do anytime there's a celestial happening that you can't see, go to the center of the Earth. That's where we're measuring these things from. That's where we're all connected. And so I'll actually, where I am, during the day, I'll use a magnifying glass so the sun's light through that focused energy can set the compost board on fire. Now the compost bit is this: save some of the ashes. And I love to say this: burn it and earn it. I mean, U-R-N. You've already E-A-R-N. You've already earned this thing, or else you wouldn't be doing it. Earn it, U-R-N. Put it in like a vessel, like this being that is died and is transitioning, and grieve it for a while. Even if you're releasing patterns that have plagued you for years, decades, lifetimes, that doesn't mean it's not meant to hurt. Part of the process you'll find if you devote yourself to this open-heartedly is a gratitude for these things that have hurt, because they have helped make you you. And in that gratitude, you matriculate from that curriculum. And instead of purging the demon, we know alchemically the lead is the gold. That same energy that said no now can be composted, re-envisioned to say yes, and to teach a new course that supports the new you, who you choose to be. So grieving that process of the release is a very powerful thing that actually allows the ashes themselves to grow in their magical gift. And you're going to use those ashes in the glue of the vision board that you create around the third eclipse, which is August 11th, maybe 10th or 12th, wherever you are. And now we've taken that old energy, we've burned it, we've grieved it, we've retrieved the magic, and we're composting that into that which will hold the visions for the new us. And so I love the backwards energy of Leo, bringing the art to the tribe, bringing I can do what I want to the family patterning. And then the forward motion, a Leo eclipse or Cancer eclipse, then a Leo eclipse, bringing in family, being together in community and tribe, but also committed to our own work. Fix yourself to fix the world. And Leo does this in the way of the fire. Love yourself. Fill yourself with you. We're told that getting full of ourselves is egoic and vain. Well, this is the mission for the Leo Mystery Schools. And it's time for us to bring bright light out of the shadows of a culture that would tell us that dim is the way of balance. Aho.
Aho. Oh, thank you so much, Gemini. That's really good to think about all of those things. Hang on, let me put us all back on. I think that works better. Yes, well said. And putting something into ritual around fire and ashes, as you said, always really does bring it home somehow, doesn't it? Really makes you feel like you're connecting something instead of it all being in your head, where you can go crazy. Where you can go crazy for sure. Hang on, we've got a question up in the webinar platform here somewhere. Someone's got their hand up, but I can't see how to look at it. Oh, what does that mean? What does that mean? Hello. Someone's got their hand up. Well, yeah, make the most of it, everyone. Really do, I think, something physical with fire. Ash, be outside, have a look at that Mars, have a good talk to him, all of those things. Even if you, let's say, see him or not, but, just if you know it's a clear night, just get out there anytime now. It doesn't have to be during the eclipses, just get out there. Also, Venus in the evening sky getting higher and higher. Clear nights, just be out there, I'd say, and really kind of get into the astrology that way, which I think makes us more explorative, makes us download. We have a direct link there, don't we? So we can be channeling much more information all the time in so many ways.
It's so amazing right now that, especially with Mercury at his maximum elongation, every planet is visible right now.
Right, yeah.
And after this first eclipse, we'll have that sliver bow, Diana's bow in the west. She'll join Mercury
Venus
on the 14th. Yep. Then she'll join Venus on the 15th. And that, by the way, in the shamanic astrology practice, that's the transition of Venus in this Aries cycle, having now reclaimed the heart chakra, what's happening right now, and moving into the throat chakra. So how can we communicate this and express this magic and power? Then Moon will move on to, embrace Jupiter and then embrace Saturn. And by the time she makes it to Mars, it's the full moon. It's this total lunar eclipse, the middle of the triple eclipse. So celebrating each of those connections and witnessing it happen in the sky. I mean, I just cannot share enough how having a sky practice and treating these beings as beings, it opens up a direct relationship with them that cannot be taught in books or words.
Yeah, exactly. Uranus in Taurus. Yay. All right, better let everyone go. Thank you so much, Liz, for staying up with us. We will be in touch. Gemini, your wisdom is always so much appreciated. Thank you for you. Everyone's saying thank you online here. So, and we will add all the links in the bottom of the thread. So, and this will be on YouTube again. For those not on Facebook to watch again, I'll put it up this afternoon. So happy eclipses. We'll see you next time. And yeah, we're online again. We're going to be doing more lives pretty much because Facebook isn't that good to us anymore. And live is the way to go, apparently. So don't forget to like us.
And Julija, these make it to the YouTube page as well, right? So go over to YouTube and Cosmic Intelligence Agency there. And most importantly, friends, become a member. Work in the field. This is the Cosmic Intelligence Agency. We are global. We are galactic. We are here to make change, and you are part of the crew. So join up and support and get more involved. We need you. Let's change the world.
Yes, well said. Excellent. Thanks for that. Yeah, I agree. It's a really great agency, agents of change, doing the best we can with astrology, and it's a real thrill to have everybody that's involved, and I'm so looking forward to so much more to come. So happy eclipse, guys, and we will connect next time. Ciao for now.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.